We have a crisis in the world, tremendous crisis, and also crisis in our consciousness, in us. I see the urgency of change, radical revolution, mutation in the mind. I see it. It is necessary. There is complete quietness of the mind, and that which is silent has vast space. Only then that which is nameless comes into being.
This is Urgency of Change, the Krishnamurti Podcast. We are not talking about revolt, but rather of a complete flowering of human goodness, which alone can produce a good, creative society. Hello and welcome to episode 290 of Urgency of Change. The Krishnamurti Podcast features carefully selected extracts from Krishnamurti's recorded talks. Each episode highlights his different approaches to universal and timeless themes that affect our everyday lives, the state of the world, and the future of humanity. This episode's theme is flowering. Upcoming themes are behaviour, art, and competition. This is a podcast from Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. Please visit our website at kfoundation.org, where you can find a popular collection of quotes, a variety of featured articles, along with a wide selection of curated material in the index of topics. This index allows easy access to book, audio, and video extracts. Our online store stocks the best of Krishnamurti's books and ships worldwide. We also offer free downloads, including a selection of booklets. You can also find our regular Krishnamurti quotes and videos on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. If you enjoy the podcast, please leave a review or rating on your podcast app. This episode on flowering has 4 sections. This first extract is from Krishnamurti's 4th talk in Saanen 1965 and is titled Goodness Only Flowers in Freedom.
We have been talking the last 3 times that we met here about the necessity of a radical and fundamental revolution within oneself. Not as an individual, saving his own particular little soul, but as a human being, totally related to all other human beings. Consciously, we may separate ourselves into petty little individualities, but deep down unconsciously, we are the inherited human experience of all time. And mere superficial changes, economic, social, or something that will give a little comfort and convenience is not productive of a new society. And we are concerned not only with the human transformation of his total nature, but also in bringing about a different society. And the good society is not possible if there is no good human being. The good human being does not flower in prison. Goodness flowers in freedom, not in tyranny, in one-party system, either politically or religiously. Freedom is considered by society as dangerous to itself because the individual then pursues his own particular enterprise through his own cleverness, cunningness, dominates. And so there is generally a feeling, an idea, a judgment that freedom is contrary to a good society. And so tyrannies, political parties try to control religiously as well as economically and socially the human mind, try to tyrannize the mind, not allowing him to think, to feel, to be free. And in the so-called democratic societies, there is greater freedom, obviously, because we are here sitting. It would not be allowed in other countries. But that freedom is also denied because it takes the form of a revolt. So we are not talking about revolt, but rather of a complete flowering of human goodness, which can alone produce a good, creative society. And that goodness of the human being can flower only in freedom, in total freedom. And to understand this question of freedom, one has to go into the question of not only order, but also freedom in relationship to society. Society maintains itself in order, through order. If you observe oneself, the society in which one lives, whether of the extreme left or of the right, or of the center, society demands order, where the individual doesn't exploit others, but that order is denied because of the very structure, the very psychological structure of society. Society is based on competition, greed, envy, and aggressive pursuit of one's own fulfillment, achievement. And in the very psychological structure of society, there is no freedom at all, and therefore there is no order. society as it is, whether of the left or of the right, is disorder. Because society is not concerned with the fundamental radical revolution of a human mind. And that revolution can only take place in freedom, not outside of freedom. And we mean by freedom not a reaction, not a freedom from something. If there is freedom from something, then it is a reaction and not freedom at all. That is, if the mind frees itself from a certain attitude, certain ideas, certain forms of its own self-expressions, in that freedom from something, it is driven to other form of an assertion. And therefore, it's a reaction in which there is no freedom at all. So one has to be very clear what one means by freedom. I know great many books and philosophies and religious ideas and concepts and political expressions have gone and discussed this problem of freedom. But as a human being living in a world which is so destructive, living in a world of sorrow and misery and confusion, a human being ridden by his own problems, by his own frustrations, despairs, unless one finds for oneself as a human being in total relationship with the other human beings, what freedom is, there is no flowering of goodness. Because without goodness, which is not a mere sentimental word, but which has an extraordinary significance. Because I do not see how one can act with an act in which there is no a reaction of misery, reaction of fear, of despair, unless the human mind understands totally this question of what is goodness. Not verbally. The word goodness is not the fact. The word is not the thing. And we should be extremely watchful not to be caught in the word and the definition of that word, but rather be or understand that state which is goodness. And that goodness cannot flourish except in freedom. And freedom is not a reaction, is not away from something, or the resistance or the revolt against something. It is a state of mind. And that state of mind, which is freedom, cannot be understood if there is not space. Freedom demands space. There is in the world less and less space. Towns are getting more and more crowded. the explosion of population is denying space to each one of us. We live in a little room, surrounded by innumerable other rooms. And there is no space, except perhaps when we wander away into the country, far away from town, smoke and dirt and noise. But there cannot be inward freedom if there is not inward space. Again, that word space is different from the fact. So don't, if I may suggest, seize upon the word and try to analyze the word or define the word. You can easily look up a dictionary and find what it says about space. An extension, a continuous extension. But to put the question, what is space, to ourselves, and if we can, remain with that word, not define it, not try to feel your way into it, not inquire about it, but to see what it means, not non-verbally. Because freedom and space go together. To us, space is round the object, round the chair, round the building, round a person, round a certain contours of the mind. Please listen rather than agree or disagree. Because we are going to go into something rather difficult and subtle to express in words. But we must go into it to understand what is freedom. We only know space because of the object. There is this object, and around that there is space. Or that space creates, that thing creates space. There is this tent, and within that tent there is space. And round that tent there is space. Round that tree, round that mountain. And we only know space within the four walls, or outside the four walls, outside the building. And we only know space within, from the center which looks out. That is, there is a center, the image. If I may go back to that word which we have been talking about. And again, that word image is not the fact of the image itself. There is this center around which there is space. We only know space because of the object within that space. Now, is there space without object? Without you as a human being, as the center from which you are looking. A space, as we know, is design, is structure, is relationship of structure to another structure, of one center to another center. space is only created by the object or by the mind within as a center from which it is looking, then that space is limited. And therefore there is no freedom in that space. To be free in a prison is not freedom. To be free within the four walls of one's relationships, to be free of a certain problem, again within the limited space of one's own thought, activities, ideas, conclusions, image, is not freedom. Please, if I may suggest once again, through the words of the speaker, observe your own space that you have created for yourself. As a human being in relationship with another, as a human being living in a world of destruction, brutality, as a human being in relationship to a particular society. Observe your space, how limited it is. Not this room in which you live, whether small or big, that's not what we're talking about, but the space which each one of us has. That space created round a center, round the image, round a conclusion. And so we only know the space as an object which creates space. I don't know if I'm making myself clear. And I'm saying that as long as there is a center around which there is space, or the center which creates space, then there is no freedom at all. And therefore, when there is no freedom, there is no goodness, or the flowering of goodness. And anything can flower only when there is space. Space in which the image as the center is not.
The second extract is from the fourth discussion at Brockwood Park School in 1982 and is titled A Soil in Which Goodness Can Flower.
First of all, look at the world very clearly. The political world, the world of business, industry, building armaments, selling armaments, and those very armaments are used against those who sell them. You know that, don't you? And the economic world, each country wants its own economic security in spite of the strikes and so on and so on. And the religious world. Is this boring though? And the religious world, if you're interested in the world at all. More and more dogma, rituals. You saw the Pope and what happens in churches. This happens all over the world. Then you have seen the extensive world, the family, your family, what happens inside that family. The divisions, the quarrels, the nagging, the fears, all the ambitions and so on. The world out there and the world inside, right? Now, this community, as far as I understand, subject to correction by those who live here, was intended to bring about a really good human beings. Human beings who are not afraid who understands the nature of getting hurt, psychologically wounded, inwardly, and getting rid of it, not carry on for the rest of one's life. Thereby, if you are hurt and you don't get rid of it, there is always fear, getting more hurt. And if you don't understand all the complex psychological struggles, conflict, you can't be a very good man or good woman. I'm talking about being good in the sense, having great deal of affection, great love, not for people, love in itself like a flame of fire, who understands suffering. Why human beings who have suffered for millions and millions of years and still going on suffering. Why there is division between people. Now, if in understanding all that, the flowering of goodness then can come out. You understand? So, you understood what I'm saying? Yeah? Now, this community is meant to be that, where people are flowering in goodness. Not only learning academic subjects, but giving far more importance to the other. This is a soil. Brockwood is a soil in which goodness can flower. Now, those of you who have been here for some time, have this flowering taken place? In the world it is not. You understand? The world isn't concerned about all that at all. They're vaguely concerned, but they give far more importance to money, to power, position, having great capacities which will help them to become a successful human being, either in the religious world or in the economic world or in the political world. That's what the world, the vast majority, vast majority of people are interested in. Right? That's obvious. And here, one wants human beings who understand all the world. You understand? What the world has become what the world has become, we have made it. Right? We have made it. Our past generations, past grandfathers, grandmothers, all those people have brought about this world in which we live. And this community, small, in a beautiful place, with lovely trees and flowers, one wants to bring about in the students and in this grown-up people a sense of great affection, love. Not merely sex. That's all right in its place. But if you give sex all importance, as most people do, then pleasure becomes much more important than love. You see? And if money is the main aim of life, as with most people, because money gives you freedom, then money gives you a sense of independence to do what you like, to buy the most beautiful car, dresses, travel, so on. Money gives you freedom to travel all over the place. And also one needs money to have a shelter, food and clothes. One must have money. But to spend all one's life from the age of 20 or by 25 or 18 till you are 65, going to the office every day of your life from 9 to 5, and gradually getting old, and dying. That's what vast majority of people are doing. They don't inquire what is the significance of life, what is it all about, why human beings have become what they are. And that's what you're going to be if you don't inquire. You may be good at mathematics or become a great doctor, surgeon, an efficient engineer, or a brilliant lawyer. And when you are occupied with specialization, to be a good doctor, good engineer, that occupies all your mind, all your days, and you forget the rest of life, which is much more alive, exciting, inquiring, and passionate. So this community, as far as we understand when we started, about 13 or 20 years, 15 years ago, was meant to be a ground where we established good relationship, not according to some edict, some law, some pattern, but to understand what is relationship, to learn all about it. And to leave Brockwood without a single shadow of fear. And also, this place, in understanding life, one has to learn what meditation is. To meditate, to have a good mind. Not specialized mind, but a good mind, a strong mind. Mind that has a muscle, not a weak, wobbling mind that doesn't know what to do and gets lost. And a quick mind, quick comprehension. You don't have to take years to learn. You may take years to learn a language, a subject, but to learn why there is fear in all of us, to learn about it, and to wipe it away quickly, not carry on for the rest of one's life with it. This is the soil of Brockwood. With which one can grow, not in mediocrity. You know the word, the meaning of that word, mediocrity means going up the mountain halfway, never going to the top of it, but always remain in the low levels. That is mediocrity, which is the average human being who is poor man. He is also suffering, he is also going through great anxieties. He remains that way. But to go beyond all that, Brockwood is meant for that. That's the intention in all the schools, whether in India, here, or in America. We started out with that. It's very extraordinary, it requires extraordinary energy, aliveness, interest, not just sloppiness of mind. You understand all this? Here, I've noticed, if you will forgive me, you're all rather sloppy. There's no grit, no vitality, no strength. Not obstinacy. The great many of the politicians are very obstinate. You can't tell them anything. But to have that intelligence that gives you great strength. So this was Brockwood was meant for that. So, how will this group of people, community, enter into the world? You understand? Some of you are going away from here after your exams. And how will you meet the world? The world is very, very, very strong. right? Society is very powerful. They don't want you to be anything different from what they are. Either you've gathered strength, flowered here in goodness and so in intelligence. If you have that, you can meet the world. Then the world has very little influence in you. But if you haven't got that, then society will absorb you. This is what is happening, most unfortunately, in all the schools we have.
Krishna.
Just a minute, let me finish that. And will you be absorbed? Follow the same old pattern. So have you got the vitality, the energy, the capacity, the intelligence to meet the world which is declining, degenerating, where there is a great deal of confusion. You understand? Tremendous confusion. Look at what's happening in this country. Strikes, wars, opposition. Each human being struggling for himself, building his own castle where he can be safe. Now, I'm asking, if I may, have you gathered energy, vitality, intelligence here at Brockwood so that you go out and meet all this horror? You understand, nobody is going to talk to you like this when you leave. Right? They want you to conform to a tradition. They want you to have the same haircut. The other day, after having talked to a very large audience, the man says, "Why don't you grow a beard?" to me. You understand? Another chap said to me, "Have you taken drugs?" I said, "No." "Oh, then you're..." So once more, Please don't be silent, but inquire, find out for yourself, for God's sake, before you leave, whether you have this clarity, understanding, not complete clarity, the clarity of what's going on in the world, and you won't share in it. If you do share it, if you do understand what's your relationship to it, you understand? You can't live in isolation. So you have to find out what your relationship is to the world. The world that wants war, right? The world that is concerned with making money. The world that has no affection, love in their heart, that brutality is going on. So if I may ask, are you learning about all this? Giving perhaps 10 minutes a day to learn about all this.
The third extract is from Krishnamurti's fourth talk in Madras 1973 and is titled Letting the Past Flower in the Present.
Let us find out if it is possible to live without control. Bearing in mind that you are conditioned to control from childhood through school, college, university, in your offices, throughout life, control has been the tradition, the normal process of life. Here somebody comes along and says, how wasteful you are, how destructive you have become through your control. And your reaction is, what nonsense are you talking about? How can we live without any control? Then we'll be sexual, we will do everything that we are doing now, only more consciously. So you're frightened. I will show you a way, not I, we will look together at this question. Can a life be led in the office, in the factory, in the school, where the tragedy begins? Whether a teacher can teach without ever using the word or feeling control. Whether you can live a life, daily life, not an abstract life, but a daily routine, the daily business of life, whether you can live there without control. Please listen. See the importance that energy is wasted through control, through friction. And there is friction when there is a controller and the control. If there is no division between the controller and the control, then there is no friction. we following? This is probably a new language to you. New way of looking at it. So please look at it with patience. Look at it as though, something you are hearing which may be pleasant and which you may reject, but look at it. Enjoy looking at it. Be happy looking at it. Not raising a problem, how shall I live without control? The main thing in control is the dissipation of energy through friction. And life demands that you have every ounce of energy to live completely, wholly. Now, first of all, who is the controller? Who's all the time exercising his authority to control? Who is the controller? Is he different from the control? Think, look at it carefully, feel your way into it. The controller says I must control thought in order to be silent. That's one of your tricks. The controller is trying to hold his thoughts, right? Control, holding. And thoughts wander off, and you pull them back. And that battle goes on. And you think by controlling, you will achieve some God knows what. Now, who is the controller? Isn't he also the part of your thought that goes off, that wanders off? Look now. I sit down, meditate, close my eyes. I never do that kind of silly tricks. I close my eyes and I want to concentrate. And suddenly I see a thought wandering off. I say to myself, I ought to have cleaned my shoes. No, just a minute. And a part of another thought says, no, don't bother, come back. Don't think about your shoes, come back and be thoughtful now about thinking about something you want to think about. And you control it for a few seconds. And then thought goes off and says, I ought not to have said that to that person. And back again. You follow? Who is the controller? Is he not part of this wandering thought? Are you seeing this? Do you see this? I put it 10 different ways. If you see it, I won't. Right? Is it clear? That the controller is part of the thought that's wandering off. So the controller is the control. Do you see that? It's part of this movement of thought. And the controller says, I must control thought. He himself is thought. That is reason, sane, objective. So, if if you observe, if the mind observes controller is the control, then the division between the controller and the control disappears. Therefore, you have energy to deal with the thought that goes off. Okay, sir. Listen to this carefully. I'm sitting quietly in my room, trying to be quiet, trying the mind trying to be quiet. I want a peace of mind. That's what you all want, a peace of mind. You understand? I'm glad you laugh. And sitting quietly, suddenly a thought arises. I hate that man, I dislike that man. Immediately, my reaction is I'm meditating, I must be kind, I mustn't think of disliking the poor chap, and I must control. Now, I dislike him. Why? He said something to me which I don't like. He insulted me. The past, please listen to this. The past which has not been resolved comes at the moment of quietness and flowers. You've understood? At the moment of quietness, my dislike of that man or that woman takes shape and becomes a reality. Now, that is the past in the present flowers, and I control it. Thought controls it, which means I have smothered it. Therefore, it will occur again. Look. Now, so I say, thought, wanting to be quiet, thought brought this out of the past, and I tried to smother it. I smother it, and then another thought arises. And I go on like this, spend 20 minutes playing this game, and I've meditated. Now, the dislike of that person took place in the past. And I'm sitting quietly in the room, sitting quietly under the tree in the room on the beach, and suddenly that dislike flowers in the present. Let it flower. You've understood? The moment you are aware that it's flowering, it withers away. But if you control it, you're giving life to it. Have you understood this simple fact? Look, sir, do it. The mind for the moment is quiet. That quietness is the present. It may last 2 seconds, but that's the present. In those 2 seconds, a thought flowers, comes into being from the past. we generally put a lid on it, suppress it, control it. Let it blossom. But be aware that it is blossoming. Give your care, attention to the flower of dislike. You understand? And you will see what takes place. In that there is no control whatsoever. Have you understood this simple fact? So, in the same way, every day of your life, every minute of your life, watch. If you're tired, let go. But next minute, watch. Be quiet. Let things come out and let them flower. And in the flowering of it is the ending of it. If you don't want to shape it, control it, justify it, just to observe it. Have you understood this? Not verbally, but actually in your blood. So, in meditation, there is no control whatsoever. Totally contrary to everything that you know. In meditation, there is no direction. Please understand this. How do you know where you are going? You know where you are going in daily life. You take the road to go to your home. You know the direction. You know the direction in the office. In the office or in the factory, you have to do certain things in order to get more money, climb the ladder of success, and all the rest of it. So you know the direction. You're following all this, do please. And do you know in meditation where you are going? Who has set the direction? The direction is peace of mind. Your mind is in pieces anyhow, so you want a little piece of that pieces. No, please, do see all this. Who has set the direction? Your guru? Your masters? Your books? Other people's experiences? Yes, I know I've reached God. I know all about God, and I tell you what to do. So, somebody has set your direction, or you have set the direction. Right? Logically, watch it, logically. This demands reason, not superstition that you are all living in. All the rituals that are superstitious, they have no meaning. So, direction means a fixed point, right? I know the direction from this place to the place I live, because that house is fortunately fixed. Now, you say enlightenment, truth is fixed. Therefore, there is a direction. But you never inquire if truth has a fixed point. You understand? Is enlightenment something like a tree fixed, taken a root somewhere? Or is it a living thing, therefore moving? Therefore no direction, therefore no power. Do you understand? If you see that, then there is no system. Do you understand, sir? no method, no practice. See what you have done? And there's no control. No practice. No system to be followed. No slogans repeated as the mantras. All for a direction which is fixed. If there is no fixed point, then there is no need for practice. That means the whole movement of desire as will comes to an end in meditation.
The final extract in this episode is from the first talk in Madras 1979 and is titled The Flowering of the Seed of a Million Years.
If we are not capable of listening, we are not capable of learning. That is, not from the teacher, from the professor, from a book, but listening to the vast depths of one's own existence, one's own anxiety. Have you ever listened to your anxiety? That is, to listen to it so that you are not escaping from it. You're not trying to translate what it must be, what it should be, or trying to go beyond it. Just to listen to that feeling that comes about when one is anxious. That you need to have a sharpness, a quickness, because those moments of great anxiety, moment you listen, they slip away. I don't know if you have noticed all these things. But to listen to them without demanding a solution, an answer, a way out of it, an escape, but just to be with it, move with it, so that it flowers. And as you listen, as you observe, the flowering of that anxiety comes to its head and withers away permanently. If you can do this. You see, and the other thing is to learn. Not from another, not from a book, not from those people who have accumulated or think they have accumulated knowledge and enlightenment and all that business, but to learn through observation, through listening. We have only learned as a means of acquiring a capacity, a job, and that learning has become the accumulation of information and memory. I hope you're listening. And that memory is limited, as all knowledge is limited. All knowledge is within the field of ignorance. All right? Isn't it? I hope you understand all this. It's rather fun, sirs and ladies. Don't be so serious. is fun to discover for oneself. That is the beginning of creation. You see, there is learning through accumulation of knowledge. In many ways. Acting, then knowledge, and further action. Accumulated knowledge, then act, but they're both the same. And therefore, all action which is based on knowledge must ever be limited. Right? And our brains, our minds are the result of million years of knowledge. Man, from the beginning of time, must have asked himself if there is something more than this everlasting grind of work, of thought, of suffering, of sexual desires satisfied and the agony of having more and all the rest of it. He must have asked million years ago, if there is a reality, if there is truth, if there is something timeless, something that cannot be measured by man, however clever, however erudite, from the very beginning of time, and that inquiry, that seed is still with us. You following all this? But in the inquiry, in the flowering of that seed, of million years of human longing, hoping, trying to find out, we are caught by illusions. The illusory nature of gods, the illusions that man has created, not only for himself, having created them for himself, he imposes those illusions on others, which is the function of the Guru. So, that seed has never completely developed because we have been sidetracked, been carried away by those who say, I know, do this, don't do that, follow this system, don't follow that system. I am better Guru than your Guru. I am no more, I am much more illumined than you. So we've been sidetracked through centuries by the priests, by believers in books, by those who say, I know God, all that. So that this seed that has been planted in man, in the brain for millions and millions of years, has never had the right soil, the right light, the right darkness. You follow? Nothing. So it is there still. I hope you are following all this. And during these talks, we are going to find out whether it is possible for that seed to grow and flower, multiply, and cover the earth. That is the function, the necessity of every man. Because in this world, there is such confusion, such violence, corruption, every form of degeneration. And if we do not find that seed and let it flower, we're going to destroy ourselves.